Aloha, welcome to Lefty Lunch with Nainoa. Sometimes I say Taika Waititi. That's my Google nickname because I love Taika Waititi. I love Taika Waititi, the director, and because YT stands for YouTube. So I thought I was being clever with that. The oatmeal exploded. We're gonna have to worry about that in a second. All right. Welcome. Yesterday, I'm calling today Trusting Science, Hope from Our Ancestors. Everything that we talked about yesterday, our ancestors noticed, especially in the periods of the Enlightenment, but even before then, they noticed everything I talked about yesterday, that we have an inability to really perceive the world correctly. And so they combated us. And our library, not us, they combated this. And that's why our libraries are full with notes and roadmaps on how to navigate this human problem. So our hope comes from there. Yesterday, you had me talking, I started with talking about this. How about just being honest and saying, I don't have the cognitive ability? Well, I showed, yeah, actually, as a human being, we all do lack cognitive ability and the ability to think critically. I told you, I showed you an example of somebody who I thought was really good at checking all this stuff and still was led by bias. I even used myself as an example. So there's a little bit of a concession there. I want to focus a little bit more again on this word schema. We schema is how Piaget taught us that we learn, and because of schema, we understand that we are our models, the models in our head, the way we visualize the world, the way we visualize the concept, they're actually a misrepresentation, right? And then what happens, misrepresentation. Then what happens is the way we learn, we get more info, and that info is kind of like look at this. It's like a daisy cutter bomb. That's a bomb. Yeah. Wait, those are fit. Yeah. The daisy cutter bomb, as we get more info, that schema blows up. And then the result is we learn, right? It's necessary to learn. So you can essentially say, you can really say that if there is no schema breaking, then there is no learning. If this is not happening, if there's not bombs happening to the way you saw the world, hey, maybe you aren't learning. But you can really say this, guys. Like, stop and think about it. What is the last time the way you saw something changed? You were like, whoa, I saw it this way. I don't see it that way anymore. That's schema breaking. And if it's not happening, you're not learning, which really should say something about if you have not changed views. All right? If your views have stayed static, there's really, you can say this quite confidently, you are not learning. So think about that. Like, if look over the past year, what views have changed for you? If they haven't, according to Piaget, if we're just going to lead to a logical conclusion, then you're not learning. And if you're not learning, then you probably haven't gotten closer to the truth, unless you are that person who immediately and early on did have the exact truth. I just think that's like unlikely. And if you have confidence in that, I'm wondering where you're getting that confidence from. Please have. All right, guys, please forgive me. I got interrupted during lunch. And so I'm coming back after school. And also forgive my sound. I need to talk louder. I'm noticing I have a mic. It'll get hooked up. This will all be much better later. But in the meantime, I need to talk with a booming voice. So we'll see how this goes. All right. So it's built into how we learn that we misperceive things. But the good news is our ancestors have looked at this for thousands of years, particularly in the Enlightenment area. And as a result, they have given us some really good guidelines on checks and balances. Checks and balances. In the same way we've learned how to check and balance power, we've learned how to check and balance knowledge, right? And our ability to discern knowledge, knowing that we're in a dire situation and then we mess up with bias and we mess up in our understanding. Our ancestors have given us science and they have given us reason. And why we can be more confident in them is because they have these checks and balances. Systemically built into science is peer review. If you're going to submit something, not only has your whoever's over you, professor who's helping you, not only have they been there editing everything and saying you might want to look at this, these studies usually take like years, guys, right? So you have somebody overviewing you, reviewing, and then once you publish it, there's other scientists looking at it, and then we don't really accept it until this has been replicated. And not just one time, we need to have other science replicating. Okay, then once you have something like that, well, anyways, we also have ranked journals. What I mean by that is, the Journal of Nature is a reputable journal. We're going to trust what happens in that journal versus less reputable journals. And if you don't know how to rank a journal, if you don't know where a journal falls, hey, what are you doing evaluating scientific claims? Like, honestly, if you're like so convinced, oh, sorry, guys, this is like if you don't know where the Journal of Nature is relative to the Journal of like oncology or other journals, if you don't know what it means to rank them, like, why the hell are you making a statement about global warming? Like, what makes you think you understand the arguments enough to be like, oh yeah, or to make a statement on COVID? If you don't know this, like, maybe just think about that, okay? Oh, okay. Now, the other thing is this research is usually like super specific. You're not gonna, what I love about people with doctorate degrees who are really in this, who are really searching, I have an ex-in-law who's an amazing man, and he has his doctorate in economics. And I remember asking him general things going on in the world, and he's like, oh yeah, I'm not sure. And I'm like, what? But you're an expert. And he's like, but listen, I'm an expert in the world of dividends, in the world of like investment. What do you call it? When rich people invest, whatever. That stuff. He's like super specific in that. So when you're looking at research, you're rarely gonna hear a scientist say, this is better, this is good, or this is terrible, or this is horrible. So if you ever see words like that, you know right away you're not dealing with science, because scientists are very, very specific, and they use words like likely and effective in this very specific situation, and they'll even give you a specific range. They'll use words like standard deviations. Again, if you don't know what a standard deviation is, why the hell do you have a stance on global warming? If you don't know what a standard deviation is, why do you think you have the tools to evaluate somebody's claim on COVID versus somebody else's claim on COVID? Like, this is an important thing to know. And if you have no clue what this is, then like, okay, I understand having an opinion. Everybody has an opinion. Everyone's welcome to their opinion. You should just know your opinion shit. You should like not hold on to that too long. You should be like, maybe this is how I feel and this is where I'm at. But if you're making any kind of like staunch proclamation, why? I got, this is like high school stats. And if you don't understand words like this, you really ought to question the staunchness of your position. All right. Also, you're going to find amongst scientists a whole lot of self-criticism. When you read research, you're going to see them tell you what you cannot conclude. It's not in the abstract, by the way, normally. You're also going to hear them say, like, what they were unable to test and what could change the results. It's full of self-criticism. And again, peers do not hold back. Peers will criticize, and then the worst, and then again, if it's not, if the experiment doesn't replicate, then we throw it out. Okay, reason has checks and balances. Reason is like a game. It really is. It's like a chess game where we have specific rules. The rules are called logic, where we have a tautology, which is the art of building arguments. Okay, there's rules to it. You got to like stay within the rules as you argue. And we've learned how to suss out those cognitive distortions that we as humans do. And we're able to suss out the fallacies that humans tend to make, bad arguments. These are all checks and balances to help us not just throw it all up in the air, right? Like, we know we're in this dire situation where we're unable to know all knowledge. So too often what I see out there is people doing this. Oh, well, we can't ultimately know, so my position is as good as your position. And what I would argue is this, really could be, I can't determine, I can't, like I said, I don't really know things. But what I do know is our ancestors, especially in the Enlightenment, have left us with this idea of checks and balances, and they have given us a system to where we can be more confident. We can be more confident. We can be more reasonable in whatever conclusions we draw if we are following the process of science, if we are following the process of reason, okay? To my friends who I debate with on Facebook, I really need you to understand how important this is to me personally. And I want you to understand my intent. My intent is I actually enjoy schema breaking. It is actually pleasurable to me because I know I am learning something. And so often when I'm debating with you, I'm laying out my argument because my argument represents my schema, and I'm waiting for you to blow it up, drop a daisy cutter on it. I really, truly am looking for that because I know that as that happens, I grow, and it happens all the time. It happens all the time. But when I'm on Facebook and I'm engaging with a lot of people, I'm not always finding that schema breaking. It's important. That really, truly is what I'm looking for, guys. I know that might be hard to believe, but I promise you, I'm not really looking to be right. I know I ultimately, I feel right. I know that my schema break often. I know that my positions, I can justify most of them. But hey, please break up my schema. I'd love to. All right, I need to wrap this up. So today I'm going to make a fun concession. I have not heard this from the left, definition being like the left's pundits. I haven't heard it discussed in any of the mainstream media. I haven't heard Democrats discuss it, maybe because they're union heavy, but I have heard it discussed on the right. And so I'm going to do a concession on something I 100% agree with from voices I've heard on the right. I haven't heard any leadership on this, but the question, should there be teacher cams so that you can watch what your teacher, what the teacher is teaching your kids and what's going on? And my answer to that is an absolute yes. I'm 100% okay with that. As a teacher, we're teaching your kid. And as we talk about CRT, I'm sure that's coming up. What a debacle, man. What a bogeyman. What a bogeyman. It is not a problem at all. And one of the reasons that, and one of the things that I think would make more people feel safe about that is if they could actually see what a teacher is teaching. We saw that with so many Zoom classes last year where you could, hey, that lesson's gonna go public, teacher, so you better dot your I's, cross your T's. Yeah, teacher cam, I'm in. Now, as far as what's coming next, we are finally going to go into deep waters with your mom, where we're going to discuss how far does critical thinking get you? Because remember, it's really hard to know stuff. And can it keep you afloat in evaluating the scientific value of certain statements? Like, let's pretend you do actually understand standard deviations. Let's pretend you actually do, not pretend, maybe you do. Let's not pretend. I'm just saying, even if you understand statistics, even if you understand how to rank journals, even if you understand how to find the consensus in science, is that enough to keep you afloat in making a value statement in science? We'll discuss that tomorrow. All right, it is the weekend. Enjoy it. Aloha.